All right, I'll go ahead and start the recording.
Go right ahead.
All right.
Good job. Good job. All right. Well, I'm going to play the Jim part today, since Jim is on vacation and currently in Ireland somewhere causing trouble. I'm Tim Yandel, and I'm the CEO of All the Leads. Today is June 15th, 2023, and this is All the Leads podcast number 433. I can't believe we've done this many of them, but certainly we have, and we are happy to have you join us on this call. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Bruce Hill, who's the head Fred in the shed as far as our coaching and training area is concerned, and what he doesn't know about real estate hadn't been written yet. There's a great kickoff for you there, Bruce.
Man, no one has ever said that about me before. I'm going to put that as my slogan. What I don't know about real estate hasn't been written. Eric, write that down. All right. Welcome, everybody. I can't believe we've done this for 433 weeks. Probably an extra week or two because we've skipped a holiday once or twice in that time. So we've been doing this for a long time. This is the Probate podcast. We're going to encourage everyone that is here live or watching via live stream on YouTube or Facebook to raise your hands, ask your questions, share your wins. If you've never been here before, this call is for you guys. We want to hear from some of you. One of these days when we have slow starts and don't have a lot of hands that shoot up right away, I'm going to start calling on some people. So you guys that I know a little bit better, be prepared for the call out. But no, seriously, we want to answer your getting started questions, your probate process questions, dealing with attorneys, putting unique deals together, creative financing, whatever it is. We want to answer those questions for you. And also hear some of your success stories. So every single week on private coaching calls, I hear success stories. I'd love to hear some of those on this mastermind as well. If you're here on Zoom, love for you guys to raise your hand to do so and ask a question or share a win. Go down to the bottom of your screen and click that little reactions button and shoot your hand up. We will call on you and ask you to unmute yourself. If you're watching via stream on Facebook or YouTube, you can chat your question in underneath of the live stream. It'll come to me, and I'll be able to answer the question. I appreciate everybody being here, and I can't wait for a good mastermind today. I kind of want to talk to you guys a little bit today about kind of the core basic activities. Several years ago, I put a potential development deal together, and this development deal consumed about 8 or 9 months of my time as a realtor. I was not really doing a lot of investing at that point. So if you guys are investors and you hear me referring to my time as a realtor, I don't want anyone to think, oh, this isn't for me. It absolutely is if you're an investor, but my background was heavily as a listing broker. And I put a development deal together with 1,700 buildable lots, and I was going to make a huge windfall commission on the wholesale, the sale to the developer, and the developer was going to make sure that all the builders that built on those lots, that I was the exclusive listing agent for all of them. And we're talking many millions of dollars that I was putting together in income for myself. And I got to the week before closing, working on it for 9 months, and the deal fell apart. And I was left with nothing. And not only was I left with nothing, but I realized at that time that I didn't have my pipeline full of my normal transactions. I didn't have any listings coming up, no buyers coming up. And the reason is I'd been kind of neglecting my core business activities in favor of this big project that I had going on. And I want to make sure, whether you guys have any huge projects going on or something that you're really focused on, I want to make sure that you guys don't make the mistake that I made, because often we get kind of distracted working on some things and we forget about the basics. The analogy that I like to coach people on is if anyone's a baseball fan, you go out and you start swinging for home runs. You have some success, and you believe that that success, easy success, is just automatically going to continue. So everything you do, you start swinging for the fences and home runs, and you lose sight and you forget how to just get on base. And if anyone is either getting started in this space, or maybe you've been in the probate space for a while, or you've been in real estate for a while and you've done really well, but things have kind of dried up, which I realize it has for a lot of people in this market, I want you guys to remember that you need to be able to strip things back to the basics, because the basics are how you get on base, and the basics are how you move your business forward, even if it's just an inch at a time and you're not always doing multi-million-dollar deals. And the basics in probate are send mail, send the traffic that doesn't call you off of the mail to a website, and make calls. And that's the basics. And I know some people are sick of hearing me say that. You love talking about building your YouTube videos and your attorney relationships, and exactly what's the precise order of how I should send those letters out, and how am I going to go out and build my team, and all those things are really, really important. But remember, we've got to have the basics first, because the basics are what our success is built on. So send mail, send that traffic to a website, especially the traffic that's not going to instantly pick the phone up and call you, because a lot of people check you out in secret first. And then make sure that you are making your calls and touching base with the people that are opening your mail. And that's the basics of it. You guys are not going to get a windfall of people that answer the phone and go, yeah, I just opened probate last week. Thank God you called. Why don't you come out and sell my house or buy my house tomorrow? You're going to have those people, but most of the people that you talk to in probate are not going to know what's going on. They're not going to have a time frame in their mind, and they're going to have a little bit of a runway of several months while you're able to build a relationship with them. So I don't want you guys getting discouraged if someone says, hey, I don't know if we're going to sell yet. We'll decide in a few months. That's a great answer, because you're going to put a plan together to stay in front of them and offer them value while they're getting through the more basic aspects of probate. I just wanted to kind of put that in front of you guys, because so often we tend to look for the fences and we forget how to just get on base. And if you're doing any sort of sphere of influence business, getting on base is just getting face to face with your sphere of influence, making sure that you're in coffees, that you're having a phone conversation periodically. There's lots of basics that we forget when we start getting a little bit more advanced in our business, and don't forget those basics. All right. With that said, I want to turn it over to you guys in the audience. Let's see if there are any questions. If you all have any questions, please chime in. I'm going to my chat here to see if anything's been chatted into me. Please ask your questions. So, Chris, how do you keep a real estate agent motivated after 3 to 4 months of marketing with no results? Okay, so it depends on what we're talking about with no results. Sometimes real estate agents and investors, many times you all are looking at the result as being a closed piece of business with a check in your hand. And I really shorten my gaze when I'm looking at success and looking at motivation. I shorten my gaze to my whiteboard. I shorten my gaze to my pipeline. So if week after week I'm doing the basic activity and I'm putting those conversations with people who might sell or plan to sell on my board with a general time frame, I am looking at that whiteboard as my success. And as long as I'm continuing to follow up with everyone on that whiteboard, personally, I should get 20 to 25% of everyone that I put on my whiteboard. So when I'm prospecting and when I'm marketing and I'm having conversations week in and week out, my goal is to put 3 to 5 people onto my whiteboard every single week. And I know It might take 6 months, it might take 8 months, it might take 4, depending on you, depending on your market and their motivation. But I know that I'm going to get 20 to 25% of those people on my whiteboard off of it. And as long as I'm adding to my whiteboard with pipeline business, then I consider that success. I know for a fact that business is going to follow, and it doesn't really bother me if it takes 6 months. I know it's coming. So that's what I want you guys doing. If your ultimate end goal is, I got to get a listing appointment today, you might get lucky and get one today and sign it and sell it tomorrow. But that's not the recipe for consistency or predictability in your business. So really good question, Chris. I want just everyone to focus on those core key performance activities that you can do, and those leading indicators of where your business is going to come from. And you won't get discouraged as long as you're filling your pipeline up. We've got a Facebook user, I'm not sure who it is, that's asked, I'm brand new to ATL and don't know what to say on my first calls. Is there somewhere that you can find a guideline on what you should be saying on that first contact? Yes. All right. There are plenty of things that you can say on that first contact. I'm going to give you a little bit of a guideline right now, and then I'm going to encourage anyone who hasn't to jump into the prospecting mastery class next week. It is Wednesday and Thursday next week. Starts at 2:00 Eastern time both days, and each day runs approximately 2.5 to 3 hours. So it is a nice substantial 5 or 6 hour class that goes deep into the nuance of influencing the direction of a call. And it also is packed with role play so that you guys can practice it. However, you want something today. And here's what I'm going to encourage a lot of you guys to do is don't lead with real estate. You're dealing with people that have recently lost a loved one. And one of the last things that many of them want to hear is, hey, sorry, this person died. Do you want to sell the house? Okay. That's what they hear, even if that's not the words that you are saying. It's what they're kind of prone or apt to hear. So what I want you guys doing is calling and offering general probate assistance. Most people that don't know you on the phone are going to resist you, and I want you to be extremely comfortable and willing to accept any resistance that they give you. So almost everyone's going to tell you guys, hey, we've got it all handled. We don't need anything yet. Embrace that resistance. And Tim, I will, can I give it to you in just a sec? Embrace that resistance. Go ahead and validate it. This is your opportunity to build rapport. So, hey, I completely get it. You really weren't looking for any extra help today. Maybe I can send you some information on what I do, and you can call me at some point in the future if you ever want help. Yes. Okay. What's a good email for you? Get the email. And then before I let you go, could I ask, once probate is over, I know it's going to take a little while. Was there real estate that your family was thinking about selling? And now you pick the real estate up, and based on their answer, remember, they go on your whiteboard. That's your follow-up. Now, are there more subtle pieces that go into that I didn't cover? Absolutely. There are lots of ways to even turn that resistance into an appointment, but that's the basics of how I handle a call. So I'm offering more of a turnkey type of service to help with other aspects of probate. Mr. Yandel, you had something?
Actually, it's a question of, and it's right on the line of what you're talking about. The answer that you're giving is kind of the same one that we usually say, and it's absolutely accurate. But I think one of the things we might offer to help, and I'll give you time to sort of think about this, is what are some things that if you're calling someone in probate and you know that they're there and you don't want to lead with, oh, by the way, I want to list your recently deceased relative's home. That's really what I'm calling about. What are some, like maybe 3 things that we could say that here are 3 things that everyone who is in the situation of being a personal representative is going to have to deal with? We're I think, making the assumption that we say, what are you having trouble with right now? Well, the reality is oftentimes you can kind of make an assumption that they're going to be having trouble with this, whatever that is. And it's gathering of the insurance information, or it's you got to open a bank account so that you can disperse funds, and all those kinds of things that are there. And I think maybe one of the things that would be helpful is maybe give them 3 things right off the top that when you first talk to somebody, you can say, well, are you having any trouble with this? Is this that thing I can help you with here, where they have the opportunity to add value? Anything like that that you could respond to?
I'm going to respond to one thing, and then I'm going to actually push back just a little bit. I'll give you guys a couple of things, and then I'm going to push back on why not everyone is going to use these. So one thing would be insurance. If they have a vacant property, that property needs a vacant property rider, and their insurance agent probably hasn't told them about that. And if it doesn't have a vacant property rider and it gets broken into or burned down and it's vacant, the insurance company that they have and the policy that they have might not cover the loss. So you could talk to them about vacant property riders. You could talk to them about what happens if a squatter moves into the property. How are they going to get rid of that squatter if the house is vacant? Well, maybe you could put a no trespassing sign up that allows you to, instead of having to evict someone, you could have them trespassed. It shortcuts the time of getting someone out just in case there's a squatter that moves in. Another issue that people are going to go through is almost everyone has to figure out how to divide property and how much that personal property is worth. So that could cover anything from an estate sale to helping family figure out the value of personal property. So you might want to have a good estate sale company that could evaluate the property, or a good antiques appraiser that could evaluate belongings so that the family can divide it properly. Now, what I find a lot of times is when you don't have any relationship with a person and you're a voice on a phone and it's the very first time you've had a conversation with them, most people resist almost anything that you're going to offer right here on the spot. So you guys could offer all of those things, and they might need all of those things. But remember, they might not know that they need them yet. And they also, even if they know that they need them, they may not trust you yet. So the fastest way to build trust is when they've rejected or resisted. Let me use that word. Resisted is a lot better way to look at it. When they've resisted what you just offered, embrace that resistance. Don't disagree with them. And Tim, I'm going to ask you, what's the best time to handle an objection?
Before it happens?
Before it happens. So if you feel like there's resistance coming, if you feel like someone's going to say, hey, I have an attorney doing everything. If you feel like someone's going to say, hey, I have it all handled, handle that resistance or objection before it's happened, if at all possible. If it happens and you haven't already dealt with it, embrace it. Make them feel like it's the most normal thing in the world. So if someone tells me, I don't need your help, I'm going to say, that's wonderful to hear. I'm so glad that you have everything handled. Okay. And I'm just going to completely remove that pressure and make it where we're on the same side. We're not in disagreement any longer. Now, one of the objections that we hear most often is our attorney is handling everything for us. I don't need you. My attorney's doing everything. And we know that that's not the truth. But this is one of the worst times to say, well, actually, did you know that you're wrong? Your attorney's not going to do everything. Even though that's true, you don't want them hearing you correct them. Nobody likes to be corrected. So if you're a little worried about that objection or response from them before they've ever vocalized it, go, hey, one of the things that I do is I pick up where most attorneys leave off. I handle things around the real property clean out, sale, things like that. And a lot of attorneys don't do that. Could I ask you a question? Were you already working with an attorney? Okay. Everything that you say should be followed by a question, because the question is going to allow you to control where that conversation goes. If you make a statement or a claim and you just leave it there, they could respond with one of 1,000 different things. I want to always end with a question so that I'm in total and complete control of the next topic that comes up. Now, we're getting a little bit advanced here. I don't want to go. I just dropped a lot on some of you. And if you're not an exceptional prospector, I don't want to go too much deeper because I don't want you guys getting confused. If you join the Prospecting Mastery next week, we're going to make sure that, that you have plenty of role play to go along with these individual techniques that we're talking about.
Hey, Bruce, one of the things that I think I was also getting at in this is that a lot of what you talked about is always, obviously, we're assuming that there's real estate involved. And in that first conversation, you may or may not know if there even is any. And one of the things that I think is something we've not really talked about on here ever that I'm aware of. And if we have, I may not have been present that day or wasn't paying close attention, but it's digital assets. There is an increasing requirement in regard to dealing with anybody who's the PR, that they're at least mindful of any digital assets the person may have left behind. This could be email accounts, this could be social media accounts, anything like that. Those increasingly become part of an estate, whether they're a liability or an asset, or as importantly, a method of communicating. And the communication side of it is that one of the discussions that you could have with them is, have you given any thought to what you're doing to secure the digital assets of the person who's passed away? That doesn't assume there's any property involved or anything else. And they may not know anything about that at all, about how to do that, what that even means. And so I think one of the things that we're gonna do in the coming months, weeks even, is to take a little look at that and see what we can arm you with to do that. But that becomes increasingly important, especially from a communication standpoint. Marketing the things that might need to be marketed out of the estate. Certainly social media is a great way to do that, but also just getting in touch with anybody that you might need to reach out and touch, and you can't do it conventionally, or even other heirs or other creditors or anything else. Securing those digital assets is important, and that has nothing to do with real estate or anything else. And most of the people you're talking to will have never even considered that. So it's a great way to break the ice, and you're adding value right up front. You don't want to make it threatening at all. Say, well, that's great. Glad you got all that done. Have you been able to secure the digital assets yet? What do you mean? What's that? And obviously you can go off on that. Any thoughts about that?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I think anytime you can throw them a curveball that's completely unexpected and that they're unfamiliar with, it's going to be a major benefit. That could be digital assets, or it could be property insurance. It could be something that they never would have thought about in a million years. What are you doing about this? And that's always a great way to break the ice and get that person who's being really short and skeptical with you, get them to actually start asking you questions. So you guys should be thinking about these things out of the box. So one of the things that I like to do, and this isn't in line with the digital assets, but it's the same kind of thing, is has the court asked you for your appraisal yet? Has the court asked you for your appraisal yet? Well, no. Okay, and I'm not 100% sure that they will, but a lot of times the courts ask for a professional evaluation of the property. I'd be willing to do that for free if it would be benefit to you. So being able to ask things that they probably haven't thought about, it just really opens those conversations up. I'm going to repeat, though, I want everyone to know that just like you, when somebody cold calls you and you don't know them, just like you're skeptical and resistant, these folks are going to be skeptical and resistant. Not rude, just not super chatty and talkative. Your job is to break the ice and to disarm them and disarm any resistance. And remember, move them to your whiteboard, move them to your pipeline. Disarm the resistance, move to your pipeline. Now, as you get more advanced in prospecting, you'll actually take some of those people that are resisting you in the beginning, and you'll begin to close them on appointments right away. That's for those of you that are good prospectors, or for those of you who aspire to be a good prospector. You'll move people to appointments But if you're not good at it yet, and it's the first time, and you're kind of you're a little timid about making those calls, remember, disarm resistance, move people to your long-term follow-up plan, and you'll be just fine. Let's go to Mr. Dwayne Olson. How are you? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good up here. It's a good day weather-wise. We've had some rain recently, which we badly needed here in Maryland. I'm thinking now. I've had the website for 3 or 4 months, so others may be when I say it, may be tempted to think that I'm not spending much time on it. I have glanced through it a few times, and I'm thinking that some of these things you're bringing up are probably in Q&A area of the website. And my point about that is it gives you a good resource to point to, gives you a good crutch. I mean, as soon as I heard that y'all had a website, that got my interest, and I went ahead and got it just because it's a good support thing. So, adding that or suggesting while you're talking, if you go to my website, blah, 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 click here, you'll see here is a list, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm thinking that if there is something that we'd like to see that's not there, we can do that by contacting support.
Yep.
Am I right?
Yeah, the support can add things. They can add checklists and lead capture forms and lots of different things. So talk to support when you need those things. And for those of you that do have a credibility website, go to that FAQs or that glossary and learn, study some of those questions, because you've got a website that you're presenting as your own, and you're the expert in probate. And people need to know that they can go to your site and learn about the probate process. If you're still unfamiliar with the probate process, you should go to your own site and learn about the probate process. If you're presenting it on the website, you ought to know it in your head too. So that's a great resource to learn from. Is that Q&A. And then when you're on the phone or potentially sending letters, 100% direct people to an individual page on your website. That's fine. I've always said that it's kind of silly sending letters if you're not sending people to a website, because not everybody opens your mail today and calls you today. Some people secretly stalk you for a few months, and then you show up to the house after a phone call converted the lead, and you get there and there's 5 letters on the table, and you didn't even know that it was the mail that had procured the appointment. You thought it was the phone call, but it was the combination of those 3 approaches.
Well, and you pointed out earlier, Bruce, about offering to offer a free appraisal or a review or anything that you as a person, and this is to Dwayne's point, anything that you want to offer that's not highlighted in what we give you right out of the chute from your site, you certainly can add that. So if one of the things that you want to do, and here's something I can give away, you determine what that is. And if that is, hey, I would love to come by and offer you a free appraisal, even of the personal property or anything else that you want to go look at, that's a great place to put that and make that something that you lead with, even on your homepage of the site. Put a striped banner across it that says, hey, free whatever it is available, click here, and you start collecting information. And that's a great way to customize your site. And the people who are being more and more successful using their site, they take what we give them. We give you everything but the kitchen sink to start with that we can think of, but we can't personalize it to you. We can't put your soul in there. So if you're extremely comfortable offering a particular service or something in writing or anything else that you want to do, make sure that you ask us to help you customize your site to do that. It's there, and if you're capable of doing it yourself, you can do it. If not, we can help you do it. If it's something that requires a little bit more than just a few minutes, it might have a small charge to do it because time is money, but certainly make sure you customize your site. And better than, from number standpoint, more than half of our folks who are subscribers, and certainly almost all of our long-term subscribers, do have websites. And Bruce made a great point. When you're sending out printed material and you got no place to send them from that, you're stuck with whatever's on that piece of paper or that postcard or that whatever it is, if you don't have anything else, you can't extend that conversation unless somehow you talk to them. And you need to have a website to at least back that piece up. So I think that's pretty important.
Yep. Perfect.
If there's nobody else with their hand up yet, I'd like to briefly touch on something else.
Sure. Go ahead, Dwayne.
Near the end of, I think, last week's call is when the subject came up about the addressing some of the older leads, which, if I remember or recall here, it's been mentioned more than once by you, Tim, Jim, so forth, and that is the benefit that people are not necessarily aware with, certainly myself, of knowing how to address older leads, stuff that's 6 months, 1 year, year and a half. There must be a science to that some way, somehow, that in practice, I guess, will develop. But to me, I just want to say that if in fact the number of people that you or others have indicated are on here that are not very active, including myself, that was one of the best pieces of information I've heard in a while. It was encouraging because, I've put off doing it, but now I have, as I understand, the ability to go in here and work some and salvage that. So I think that's a great thing. If you have anything to add to that, since nobody else is waiting.
I do. Thanks for bringing that
subject. Up. Yeah, right.
You used a specific word a minute ago that was the perfect word that you could have used because it was wrong. Okay. And it gives me a really good launching point. You didn't mean it like this. You were just talking. So you said, is there a science? And with marketing to anyone, probate, your sphere of influence, vacant properties, absentee owners, notice of defaults, divorce, whatever it is, when marketing and prospecting for that matter, there is no science. This is an art. It's an art. And that when you put a letter in front of someone, you put a letter in front of 100 people, one person's going to open that letter and say, this is exactly what I was looking for. I need to work with this person. Another person's going to open the exact same letter and say, how dare they ask this? 90% are going to open it and go, hey, this is interesting. Maybe for me now, maybe for me later. Maybe I'll set this to the side and call them later. Maybe I'll go check their website. There's a lot of people that are in the middle across the spectrum of how dare they ask me this, and I can't wait to work with this person. They're offering me exactly what I'm looking for, and that's what marketing is. There's a spectrum of different responses and feelings that people are going to have. The same thing goes with your phone calls. You're going to have people that answer, and they just are so excited that you would call in and offer them a service like this. You're going to have people occasionally, and nobody get worried and cut your prospecting out, but you're going to have people occasionally that are mad that you've called them and offered something. They're grieving. You're going to have a whole lot of people in the middle on that spectrum, though. And it's the people in the middle that fill your whiteboard up. And it's the people on the edges that it's a one call and done. The person on the edge that gets really happy, it's one call and you've got an appointment. The person on the edge that is a one call and they're mad, you don't have to call them again. So I want everyone kind of recognizing their spectrum. Now, when it comes to the older leads that Dwayne was talking about, we're referring to people that have been in probate for 12, 18, 24 months, and maybe they're long done with probate. Maybe they're just wrapping it up. These are the folks that some of you are going to choose to drop a last letter to, or a last letter or two to, and basically you're just going to say, hey, I noticed that you went through probate about a year and a half ago. I was writing to see if there was any real estate that your family had decided that you might be selling. It needs to be a very, very real estate forward and centered letter. They probably don't need your turnkey services at this point. They might. You could put those into a PS or something, but that letter needs to be real estate front and center. I've gotten a lot of business off of letters like that, that go out to really old lists that everybody else has forgotten.
And are there, in fact, one or two that are already on file?
I know there's one. I know there's one. You could take one of our others on file that aren't for historic leads and you could rework it to be more more toward people that have already gone through probate versus are just starting. It
Yeah.
doesn't take too much to retool those. I know that there's at least one letter for historic.
There's two, Bruce. There's a
leaves.
6 and a 12.
Great. Perfect. I love it.
We have a 6-month and a 12-month letter. And a lot of people are automating it to do that, Dwayne. They literally are, setting it up so that the first one goes out, the second one goes out, third one goes out, and then, they may, there may be a time where they're, marketing hard for 3 months. They don't do anything again until the 6th month, and they don't do anything again until the 12th month. And the only thing I'll tell you, and this is really a Jim story, is, and it backs up what Bruce said, every single time that, we frequently test what we're doing, and every single time we put a campaign out to a 6-month-old group in Jim's market or a 12-month-old group in Jim's backdoor market, invariably something comes out of it without every time we've done it, it happens. Someone says, we finally got around to it, or, grandmother passed away a year ago and grandfather was still in the house and now his health is failing and we're going to have to move him into assisted living, and, the time is right. And that's what you got to remember, is that it's a life transition process. It may not happen all at once. You're just trying to build that relationship and be top of mind whenever it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And one other quick thing, and I'll get off this because it's important. Somebody asked in the group, how do they get started with their website? All you need to do that is just contact support. They'll point you in the right direction, or your marketing implementation specialist, who you should have already had a conversation with if you've been with us for a bit. That's part of the thing that's usually happening, certainly within the first week of joining. You'll be talking to the marketing implementation department, and that's what they're there for, to help you build your marketing campaigns, get your website squared away, make sure your letters get set up and ordered. And, we also offer incentives to you to put it on autopilot, so that all you're really having to do is each month, each time the mail goes out, you start making phone calls, you start scrubbing your list down. So if you start off sending 100 letters out to 100 sets of people, and, you contacted half of them and you've gotten rid of a bunch of them because you don't see that being an opportunity, you scrub it down, you control your marketing costs that way, and just leave it on autopilot. And we give you an incentive to leave it on autopilot. So your only job is talk to people and monitor your data, make it easy on yourself, and we make it cheaper for you.
Yep. Awesome. Have a couple of other questions here that have come in before I jump to Grady. Grady doesn't have a question. I want to share something that he chatted in. But let me let everyone know, some are chatting me directly on Zoom, which is awesome. I have zero issue with that. I want everyone to know I get talking sometimes, and looking at my external chat where the administrative and support team are dropping some of your questions in. And I don't always see the Zoom chats that are directed directly to me. So I see those today. I just wanted to let everybody know, if you're going to message me, go ahead and message everyone, and then our team will make sure that the question gets in front of me. But I see everyone for now, so I'm going to answer some of those questions. But first, Grady messaged in and said that he's been with us for just 2 months, and he just got his probate listing using the marketing system. So mail, and I assume sending some of that traffic to website. So the marketing system absolutely works, and Grady just got his first listing on it 2 months in, and that's faster than I tell people to prepare for. I tell people to prepare for 4 to 5 months. So 2 months is amazing to get your first listing. Now, Grady, hopefully you have a good pipeline of business that's going to turn that into a predictable source of business month over month. But congratulations. I love hearing that. Carrie chatted in, what type of probates are most attractive for investors and realtors? When you asked the clerk of the records, they gave you the option for general probate, conservatorship, guardianship, a few other options. I don't believe that you can narrow that down to specifically which types. I can tell you that if there is conservatorship or guardianship, those are more likely to have a court-appointed administrator, and many times the court will appoint or direct a real estate sale. So that's certainly good. It's a more complicated probate than general probate. It's typically has some complications in the real estate deal. So if you're up for the complications, they may be a little bit of a faster time frame. But I like general probate leads. In those general probate leads, it's going to be a mixture of children that are surviving a deceased parent. It's going to be some surviving spouses that a lot of times might take 18 months to recognize that they want to move and sell. You're going to have people that are out of state or out of area that just want to get rid of the property because they can't get there to clean it out or cut the grass. It's going to be a lot of different scenarios, and I find that those are kind of fun to build those relationships. So it's really hard for me to say which ones are best for a realtor or an investor. I think they're all good.
Well, and Bruce,
some of the other questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't pull guardianships and conservatorships. We only furnish general because that's what we're looking for. Oftentimes in the guardian and conservatorships, that's really more something that's covering child, and there's maybe real estate in there or an adult that can't handle themselves, and that's typically not focused around real estate. So you're not going to be getting those through our lead source. We deliberately screen those out. So
Kim asked a question that I'm going to do my best to answer satisfactorily. So Kim said that she's new to the program and asked if we recommend emailing the personal representatives where we've provided an email address, and should she do that in addition to mailings and calls, and then asked if we provide email scripts. So emails is one of those interesting topics. I would absolutely email people. Absolutely. Generally speaking, I'm personally not normally going to email until I've reached out via phone and mail a couple of times. Mail, maybe not quite as much, because I usually try to call people 3 or 4 times in the first month, 3 times normally in the first 10 days if I can. And if they have not responded to my phone call and maybe a text on that second or third phone call attempt, then I may email. But I want everyone to know that emails are frequently skip traced. Not every time, if it's on the public records, we will grab it, but it's not always on there. Sometimes it's a skip trace. And if you were to look me up, I've probably written down a fake email address or 2 in my day when I've applied for a credit card application or car loan or something like that, or I've filled something out asking for information, asking for a free PDF. I've lied. Now, if you guys immediately say Bruce doesn't have any integrity and you want to leave, go ahead. But I've lied, and those email addresses will absolutely show up on skip tracing sometimes. So I never want to move all those emails into a bulk email campaign like a MailChimp or through your CRM without testing them first. Because the last thing you want is to send 100 emails out, 10 of them get bounced back, and now the servers think that you're a spammer. Okay, so go set up an email that really you're not going to use very often. Set it up. Send out an email with just a really quick, basic, not a lot of marketing to it, that talks about probate, just to see if it bounces back. If it bounces back, take it out, never email it again. If it's deliverable, then you can go ahead and start your campaign from your primary email account. Now, we don't provide email scripts. I've written some emails here and there. We just haven't gone far enough into testing which specific email scripts work better than others. But I would certainly email some folks and probably email them 3 or 4 times over the course of your 6-month campaign. If you want to do it more often, go for it. But I would do maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of my 6-month campaign. Keep it short, keep it simple. You don't want to lay out something that they're never going to read. A paragraph or 2, or even really short paragraph is totally fine. You're just checking to see if there's anything that they can help with, and referencing your letters and your phone calls. All right, Tim, anything to add there?
Yeah, the only thing I would make sure of is that you make it topical. One of the things you always try to put yourself into the position of the person that's getting it. If you don't know them, in other words, if you get an email from somebody that you don't know and you look at it, I mean, I have an email that I've had forever and ever and ever, and it's my very generic, last name kind of email that I've used probably for 20 years. And I get thousands literally of emails a week in that email. And I scan them. I literally scan the headers for every single one of them. I always look at it. And the ones that jump out at me from people that I don't know typically have something to do with a very local issue. Now, it could be, a lot of them that I see, I live in a county called Brevard. And so something in that header that says Brevard County, and it has to do potentially with Brevard County property values or probate in Brevard County, anything like that, where, well, maybe that's interesting. I ought to look and see what this person's talking about. And you just, like Bruce said, keep it short, keep it simple, and always put a call to action. For more information, click here. The click here needs to take them to your website. Or obviously you want to put your phone number there, and they've got your email because it went out, but certainly having a website to drop them to, or a phone number that they can call, at least you've got a call to action, and that gives you some value. But don't put a long email there. You can do that once you've got a relationship going and you've established some dialogue. I'm a big believer in long form stuff, but certainly not out the chute. You want to click pop.
Yep. By the way, Eric's our marketing guy and hosts the podcast, or the Mastermind. I've gotten a chat from Audrey that says that there isn't an option to chat with anyone else except for me directly. So we'll fix that setting moving forward. And I apologize to those if if in the past I've missed your messages. Sometimes I'm not looking at the Zoom chat. So Jeff said he understands that All the Leads offers fulfillment on the 4 mailings in Frank Patrick's program, and asked if this applies even if you're not currently getting all the leads. So Tim, does that apply?
We are a professional mail house and print shop, and we're in business to do that. So if you have anyone that you want us to mail to, we will gladly do that for you. If you have your own set of leads that you want us to mail for you, we'll do that. You may talk to your marketing implementation specialist or contact support. Same thing's true as far as Frank's stuff. We are the main fulfillment arm for all of Frank Patrick's stuff. And, we love doing that. Anything that you want printed. And by the way, just very importantly, doesn't have to be probate at all. We have people that are doing, 5 and 10,000 piece mailings to local market, doing farming mailings, all sorts of stuff. Door hangers, flyers, anything that you want printed, we do that. And we are glad to do it. And we do literally thousands of pieces a day for all of our customers. So whatever it is, we'll do it.
Yep. Awesome. So Audrey asked if anyone works with guardians. Okay, so I'm gonna ask everyone on here, those of you that are on the call, just throw your hand. Actually, don't do this. Don't raise your hand, because then I'm gonna call on you. Go to the reactions button and click reactions, and then click thumbs up if you have worked with guardians. I want to know, guardianship attorneys and guardians, I want to know who's done this. I have. And I'll tell you, everyone here, that you guys should be identifying guardianship attorneys in your market and pursuing them, building relationships with them. Many times they are solely responsible for the decisions on real estate as a protector of either the people that can't mentally make their own decisions or be counted on to make something that's wise, or the underage. And you have a relationship with someone like that trusts you and that you've done a good job with. It is worth so much. I've got 2 guardianship attorneys that I work with that bring me business every year, multiple pieces of business every year. So get a guardianship attorney into your network.
And Jeff,
All right.
I saw an answer to that Jeff gave you a thumbs up there. And Jeff, if there's anything that you can add to that in regard to how you're dealing with them and what that has looked like for you, if you'd like to talk about it, if you would raise your hand, we'd like to talk to you about it. So if that's something you'd like to comment on, please feel free to do that and just raise your hand and we'll call on you. If not, that's fine. I don't want to drag it out of you, but certainly we'd like to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. And that's the last, by the way, that's the last question that I have in chat. So if Jeff wants to chime in, and Kim just asked another question, I'll answer that in a second. So if Jeff, you want to chime in, raise your hand. Anyone else that wants to ask a question or share a win, raise your hand. We'll call on you. But Kim just asked if anyone ever markets to accountants. Accountants are certainly on my team. That was a really long pause, by the way, for those listening to the podcast later. We didn't cut out. Accountants are definitely a good person to put on your team. I don't really market to them because I don't find that there's a lot of business that flows back this way. Business typically flows from the realtor or investor to the accountant. So what I want everyone to recognize is sit down and list out all the professionals that you work with, and then put arrows on how the business flows. And what you're going to find is that often when you list the attorney, you're going to put arrows where the business flows to you. Now, I'm going to encourage you guys to put an arrow that runs both ways between you and the attorney. Accountants, often it's you to the accountant. Financial advisors, it's you to the financial advisor. Contractors, you to that person. So I want to figure out how business typically flows between you and the different people that you put on your team. And you can always reverse engineer the way that you're delivering value and who you're going after based on how the business flows. Accountants, Kim, go get accountants. I'm sure you could turn them into good referral partners. I find that we're normally the ones that refer them, though.
But
all right, Jeff's hand was up. It went down.
It was, and I just asked him to go ahead and unmute. Jeff, if you can unmute yourself, certainly we'd like to talk to you.
On the spot. All right. Any other questions, guys?
So I think that's it. Jeff is not raising his hand there, so I'm guessing
it's all good. That was an on the spot. We were gonna put him on the spot. Eric just posted in chat. We've got free probate foundations class coming up in a couple of weeks, first Wednesday of July. We have a prospecting mastery class coming up next week. If you're an All the Leads subscriber, it's only $149 and it's worth its weight in gold. I should charge way more for that. It is packed with great stuff and role play throughout. So about a 6-hour class for that. But guys, go join those if you can. And we've got a hand raised. Our friend Casey. Casey, go ahead and unmute yourself. How are you?
Hey guys, doing well. Can you hear me okay? Okay,
yeah.
Good. So I just had a quick question. I like to advertise myself as an investor and kind of being that one-stop shop, but within my print advertising, which includes the letters here, I say that if you want to get, the most out of your property, the most you could possibly get is going to be market value. In order to do that, we could go on the market. Now, I recently sent a letter out and the person that received it was also a licensed agent, and she looked me up and she called me because I was not advertising myself as an agent. And she said, "Hey, you're a licensed agent. Why don't you have any of your brokerage information on this letter and your license number and all of that?" So just curious, because I was not, in my mind, I wasn't thinking, well, I'm not, I'm advertising myself as an investor, a solution specialist, a problem solver. I'm not advertising myself really to put it on the market, but I do say, if you want, if none of these other options are a good fit for you, you might be a better fit to go on the open market.
Yep.
So is that an issue for anybody else? Just putting it out there, does anybody else put their brokerage information on their print marketing?
So I'm curious to hear other people's responses there, but I'm going to go ahead and say that you have to put your brokerage information and your status as a realtor on the market, on your marketing. It doesn't mean that it has to be front and center and you have to draw everyone's attention to it. But if you are offering a real estate based service at all, even if it's just buying and you're a realtor, you have to disclose that you're a realtor. And depending on the state, you probably have to put your firm on there as well. So the way that I would do that if I was offering more of a turnkey concierge service is I would probably put it in a footer. Being a realtor, you need fair housing, you need your status as a realtor, MLS that you're involved with, and those can just be logos. And then your state, if you're licensed, may require you to put an address and your firm on there as well. It's okay if those go in the footer, especially if you're not emphasizing that particular real estate listing service. But again, every state's different. Some states are going to want you to have a really big, bold logo with the firm that you're affiliated with. Most don't, but some do.
In addition to that, the other thing that you probably are going to want to do if you're putting that on, since you weren't doing it before, is simply a little paragraph, maybe towards the end of your letter, whatever it is, that says, in addition to that, should you be looking to list it, I can certainly take care of that for you, because as you can see below, I'm also a licensed agent in this marketplace and provide these services. So don't just stick it on there and look like you're masquerading as an investor only. Make sure you call it out and you're proud of it. All that does is enhance your value to them. They can see that you're far more than just an investor.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you for the question, Casey. We've run into that a lot. I've had brokers at my brokerage challenge some of the letters that we have written. And I've had to call and argue how they are compliant, and they are, by the way. But every now and then, other agents see things, and in some cases, rightly see things and call you out on it. And unfortunately, Casey, in your case, that other agent, they were correct in calling you on that. So get your brokerage information added on there, check your state rules and see if you have to list the brokerage address, things like that. For the most part, most of that can go in the footer, but I would certainly, to Tim's point, bring it up. If that's not the thrust of your message in the body of your letter, you could always bring it up in a PS line as well.
And you know what, bud? That's taken us pretty much right to the top of the hour. If we don't have anybody else, kind of a last call here. If anybody wants to raise their hand, if you've got a last minute question, but if you don't, I think we're about ready to send this to press. Anybody got anything else they would like to ask Bruce?
If not,
Want to try
we'll
to
close
do
it.
the Jim part?
You want to close? I'll close it. So I'm going to do my best Jim impersonation. If you've never been here before, this isn't going to make any sense to you, but I want to thank everybody, each and every one of you, realtors, investors, other professionals, for joining us today. I want to challenge you guys to take one idea, one thought, something that was delivered today, and put it in practice in your business, and come back and share your results next week with the group. Same time, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern time next week. And if you're not in Eastern time, you're not invited. No, just kidding. Yeah, if you're not Eastern time, you got to do the math and figure out what time it is. 1 o'clock Eastern time.
Good job, dude. Have a great
All right.
weekend. And to all of you fellow fathers, have a great Father's Day. Bye now.